and welcome back to Matthew's Tottenham blog and today's Tottenham versus Leeds match review. Tottenham have run out 3-0 winners in this big Premier League clash with Harry Kane, Heung-min Son and Toby Alderweireld getting on the score sheet. Today I'm joined by Andrew from the Podspur.
3-1? Did we score? I just saw it at the bottom there. It said 3-1 at the bottom.
Oh, no. Oh.
Did we score?
We'll get rid of that. No Leeds scoring against Tottenham. I'm joined today by Andrew from Podspur TV, Oscar from All Leeds TV again, and David Harris, the Irish Yid as well. Andrew, we'll start with you. How are you getting on today?
Great, Matt. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely pleasure having you on. And as always, links to Podspur TV down in the description below. Oscar, have you gotten over the result yet?
Look, at the end of the day, when you play a team like Tottenham, I think in any team where we're playing, a team of real quality, we always know there's a risk of a heavy defeat. I think, as I said to both you and David, in the previews, the first goal was so key. When the way Tottenham play is our kryptonite. But I thought in that first half an hour we showed quite a bit about us. But the first goal just complete. I think the way the first goal happened was the problem. It wasn't just a case of Tottenham showed a real moment of quality like they did on the second goal. It was the fact we gave the goal away, really, from our point of view. Obviously, Bergwijn, intelligent movement of Bergwijn, to win the foul and that lot. But for us, it's a really poor goal to give away. And I think for us, after that moment, we never seemed quite the same. I think obviously we had the big chance for Bamford, the brilliant ball for Rafinha. And as I said yesterday, actually, teammate, he has got that tendency to miss a lot of chances with his head. I think he said 50p coin head sometimes, but I do love him. I love Paddy. I do. He's been absolutely superb for us this season. So I'm not going to be too critical. Same with Meslier, really. They've been superb for us, and it's just one of those games for us where we've made mistakes. But I think Tottenham fully deserve to win the game today. I'm not going to argue about that. I'm not sure it was a 3-0 game, but ultimately, when you play Tottenham, Son, Kane in this kind of form, you're going to take your chances, and that's what you got to accept. I'm sure Tottenham. You beat Southampton 5-2. All this perception about Jose being negative. You still score a lot of goals for a team that plays negative football, if we're being honest. It's so I disagree with the Mourinho criticism. I've said it quite a lot. And to be fair, today, you've seen a game like that. I'm sure that probably relieves a lot of the pressure on Mourinho, going into that... is it the cup game this weekend? This
semi-final on Tuesday.
Big confidence boost, isn't it, going into that one now? It probably changes the whole... dynamic of that game, and you're probably going to win that one comfortably, really, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, I think so. And as you say, it could be a big confidence boost ahead of that one today. And David, with Matt Doherty getting sent off today, it will be Serge Aurier in that game against Brentford. Do you think it will be important having him back? And as well, again, welcome to the stream as always.
Yeah, thank you very much. Firstly, I just want to say my defence of Jose was my criticism of the players was right. So nobody can be on my case anymore. And Aurier sending off, it was stupid. He done it to himself. It was deserved. And bring back in Aurier because Doherty hasn't hit the heights we expected him to. And to be honest with you, I'm starting to think that it's not switching from a back five to a back four. I just starting to think he just can't cut it at this level week in, week out.
Yeah, unfortunately. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's funny. We want Aurier back. He's got to find his way out of the doghouse as well. He might have to make room for Doherty to go in there. And who knows, we might end up seeing Jaffa Tanganga right back at this point on Tuesday during the cup match.
Yeah, and look, I know we've been calling this channel, David and Marcelo especially, calling about getting some of the young players into the team. And look, perhaps it is something we could see in the coming weeks, especially with that FA Cup game against Marine as well. Now, before we get a bit more into this game, anyone who's watching, if you are new to the channel and you want more content like this, plus an exclusive interview with Fabrizio Romano coming up next Tuesday, make sure to go down and smash that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. And look, it was defensive football from Spurs today, but it wasn't as defensive as we've seen in the past. We had, I think it was 20 shots throughout the entire game, 20 altogether. Kind of split evenly among either half. It was a different approach to kind of what we were expecting, David, to be honest, even though it was a low block a lot of the time. When we got in possession, we did try to create things, and we did ultimately create things. I think we were good value for our win.
Yeah, look, mate, the reason why we created things is because we done the basics right today, which is what I've been calling out the last few weeks. Even yourself has been calling out the last few weeks, is the basics. Finding a pass to this lad in the same colour shirt as you. Just simple things like that. Getting the ball under control with one touch instead of having to take 2-3 touches. It gives you so much more time on the ball, and it gives you so much more time to attack. And it's exactly what we done. But also a key factor today was the high press. we pressed high because we weren't tired. We had the break against Fulham, which was key. So we pressed high today. And we forced Leeds into a mistake, especially for the Bergwijn penalty where the keeper kicked the ball straight out. Harry Winks read it well, to be fair to him. He actually had a decent game today. Got on the ball. A nice forward pass for once into Bergwijn. And Bergwijn wins the penalty. Some people say it wasn't a penalty. In my opinion, it was a penalty. But look, I'd be interested to hear what Oscar has to say about that penalty, actually.
Look, I'm not going to complain too much about it. You know, at the end of the day, we would have lost the game either way, I think. I think Tottenham were really working their way into it. I don't know. I mean, as I said on the live stream, I didn't want to say anything too quickly because I don't actually know what the rules are now. You know, that's the thing. Certain elements of this game, I don't know what the rules are anymore. You know, in terms of where the foul was, Bergwijn's right foot was quite clearly in the penalty area, but his left foot was quite clearly outside it. So I don't know. I don't know what it purely depends on the rules. So I'm not going to complain too much about that. It was a stupid mistake from us, you know, in that sense. And, you know, we've got to take responsibility for that. But yeah, no, I think it got to agree. I think Tottenham shows good quality going forward today. I think that front four, you kind of had, you know, I've questioned, you know, having Ndombele as a number 10, but he had a good game today. I still think he's better playing deeper, though. I will still stand by that. I think it's, but Harry Winks, to be fair, you know, I think obviously, you know, he's had a lot of criticism just on your guys' channels, to be fair, recently. I mean, I've not seen
rightly so, though. I point out, rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen Marcelo since the game, to be fair. I mean, since Harry Winks had a good game, but no, absolutely, it was. And that's the thing, yeah. I've never really bought into this idea that Mourinho's past it. Yeah, I think you clearly see what Tottenham are trying to do here. I think it's different to Lampard, Solskjaer, etc., etc. You know, you're not really sure what exactly they're trying to achieve, what the philosophy is. But with Mourinho, it's very clear what you're trying to do. Low block, not so much frustrate, but play a little bit more pragmatically, you know, in terms of not taking stupid risks, not trying to play out the back. And it's just what, you know, it suits this Tottenham team, to be fair, you know, the way you play today. Whether you can play that way against, say, for example, I think someone who's a bit more defensive, say, for example, Burnley or something like that, you know, teams like Burnley, you know, would sit back a little bit more. Maybe you need to be a little bit more, get on the ball little bit more in kind of like in the middle third and try and spray a few more passes and kind of hit teams that way to an extent. That might be the only problem Tottenham face, but I think all the elements you've seen there is a team that's going to win something this season. You know, whether it's the Europa League, League Cup, FA Cup, they will win something this season for me. I kind of felt that for quite a while now of this Tottenham team. And you've got Son and Kane as well. They're the perfect players to have in cup matches. You know, you just need that one moment of quality to win you a game. And to be fair, you look at it now and you say the top four, I think the top three will be Liverpool, City, Manchester United. But Tottenham have got a real good chance of top four, possibly even top three, to be fair, you know, in terms of, you know, if you're making a January recruitment as well. But yeah, impressed by Tottenham today, to be honest.
Oscar, I'm interested in something you said a minute ago about Ndombele and thinking he should be one to play deeper. I'm of the opinion that it hasn't really fit perfectly into the 10 role, and a lot of the stick that he gets from Tottenham fans is that he's always coming off 60 minutes, 70 minutes into a match. He has yet to play a full 90 in a Premier League match this season. He in fact hasn't done it since December of 2019. He's done it in a few cup matches, but he does not go 90 minutes. And you know, we see that he is outstanding on the ball. He does a number of great things on the ball, movement, dribbling, can get around guys, can set other players up really well. But the one thing I've noticed is, and part of this is just his physicality and the way that he runs, but he doesn't do a whole lot off the ball, yet he's still coming off 65, 75 minutes into every match. So I'm interested to know from you know, somebody who's a fan of another team and doesn't follow it as much, where do you see a player like that? Because for me, I think a lot of Tottenham players or Tottenham fans rather would like to see him go a full 90, but I don't know that he does enough off the ball. He to me is almost like a more forward metronome. You know, he tends to draw attention away from Kane and Son, which is obviously not what you would want as an opposition. You would want to have your attention on them. But Ndombele does a good job of drawing some attention and freeing up Kane and Son to do some more things and in the attack. But I could also kind of see a deeper role for him. The problem is Spurs don't really have another guy to just stick in the number 10, especially with Giovanni Lo Celso being out right now. But even outside of that, I mean, Dele Alli would I'm sure be the answer for many people, but he's obviously not able to get on the pitch or into Jose Mourinho's good graces. So, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on a little more on Ndombele and his best fit in Tottenham's squad.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with the way Tottenham play, it's a hard one because there's no real obvious kind of position for him because he's one of those players. And Ndombele, sorry, I was mumbling then.
You don't call him Ndombele, don't lie.
It is a hard name sometimes when you've had a few beers as well. To be fair, but no, you look at him. For me, he's very similar to Paul Pogba in the sense that it's hard to identify what his best position actually is because he's got such a all-round game and all-round skill set that he can do a little bit of everything. He can tackle. To be fair, I do agree though, Andrew, that defensively he's not the hardest worker. I think that's fair to say. I think in a Mourinho team, that's a problem if you want to stick him back in a more defensive role. Yeah. He initially had that problem, didn't he, with Jose? To be fair, even before lockdown, I think where I think it was I was trying to think who you played, and he kind of called him out in the press conference after the game, and you look at Ndombele and say, for me, I think he is better deeper. I remember seeing him play for Lyon at Barcelona. I think it was about 6 months before he signed for Tottenham, and he was absolutely superb. He played a little bit deeper, just alongside the hard-working midfielder, and he played really well in that game, to be fair. And he was probably one of the standout players on the pitch. And in the Camp Nou, that's no mean feat. He has got. What I like about Ndombele is that he's not fazed by anything, any situation. If he's got 4 or 5 players around him, he'll still look to play his game. And I love players like that. You like personality to play their way. I can imagine that's quite difficult to manage if you're trying to get him to do a specific role. So from that point of view, I always look at it as number 10. And I think they've got to create, or they've got to score goals, or even better, do a bit of both. And Ndombele, I don't think the best element of his game is his finishing or his creativity. I think the best element of his game is getting the ball from one end of the pitch to the other and starting counter-attacks and just being a nightmare to get the ball off. Because he is an absolute nightmare to get the ball off. I mean, 3 or 4 times you've seen us with our high press, the way we like to press, he just walked past us at times. And that was the quality elements. And Berbatov's a really good comparison in that sense. He's just so effortless, everything he does. And reliable as well. He's going to keep the ball really well. So it's an interesting one from that point of view. I can see why Mourinho isn't using him in the deeper role. I think he likes to have 2 workhorses in midfield. I think throughout his career, at Mourinho, you've kind of seen that at Madrid, Chelsea, Inter Milan. He's always liked to have 2 workhorses. The only time we can kind of think of where Mourinho has kind of allowed for a little bit less defensive stability to get a bit more creativity in the team was at Chelsea when his second spell, when he sort of dropped Cesc Fabregas, it was deeper, and played number 10 ahead of him. I think it was Oscar actually at the time. He played ahead of him, and that was the only time he kind of did that. And in the end, it didn't work too well towards the end at Chelsea. So I can see why he wouldn't really fancy playing Ndombele deeper, because he kind of leaves all the defensive work to one player then, and that's not what Mourinho does. He doesn't want. Yeah, we saw it at Man United as well when he played Pogba deeper. He didn't like it at all. He never really got on with Pogba, did he? So it does surprise me that certainly watching the Amazon documentary in terms of Dele Alli, how he's so down the pecking order all of a sudden. At the start of the season, I think he started your first game. I'm right in saying was it
against Everton this season? Yeah.
Yeah, so he started that first game. Obviously, he lost that game, and he didn't play well. I'm not going to say he played well, but. Just surprises me that Dele Alli is so out of favour, not even coming off the bench. And, you look at, because I think obviously Lucas Moura seemed to come on today and play in that position. And look, Lucas Moura is a great option off the bench. I'm not going to lie about that. But I think the big thing for Tottenham, and the reason why I still think they're a little bit off Liverpool and Man City at this moment in time, they're not getting enough goals from the other elements of the team. Bergwijn and Ndombele, good players, very good players, not giving enough goals. So if Kane and Son don't play well, it's hard for Tottenham to win games. And ultimately, I think you've seen that last couple of weeks, when Son and Kane have had quite quiet games. I think against Wolves, the game I watched, they both were a bit quiet on the day, and Tottenham didn't really get anything going. And that's probably the only criticism you can have of Mourinho. Maybe his more defensive approach is getting the very best out of Kane and Son, but then Bergwijn and Ndombele, maybe it's not getting the best out of them in terms of productivity. So it's an interesting one. It is a really interesting one in terms of how he's going to manage that. I'd imagine Dele Alli, to be fair, he will start getting games when in the cup and that lot. I mean, he obviously got a couple of games coming in, and Mourinho does like.
You sure would hope so.
Well, that's the thing. If he doesn't,
because if he's not, then there's a bigger problem.
The thing is, as well, if Poch getting the PSG job, you'd imagine those links for Dele Alli, which were there before even Pochettino was being linked. It wouldn't be surprising, perhaps, if you see Pochettino going for Dele Alli for a January loan move, in terms of wanting to stamp his authority on Paris Saint-Germain. It'd be an interesting one in that sense. So I think it's a big window for Tottenham. I think obviously Sergio Ramos, Skriniar, obviously Sabitzer. I think they are certainly Skriniar, Sabitzer. They are classic kind of Jose Mourinho players. Sabitzer, full of energy, likes to press, works hard defensively, has a goal in him. Skriniar, just a massive unit in that lot in terms of someone to play alongside Alderweireld. Yeah, so it's interesting from that point of view. I think if you do get those two players, I think all of a sudden Tottenham, with being such an open title race, who knows? Who knows? That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting a few points you made there about Ndombele. Like, I'm personally a fan of Ndombele being played more advanced, because like the most simple way I can look at it is he played in a almost a double pivot deeper role last season, and he was dreadful, and we pushed him further forward this season, and he is being a lot more effective. Now, of course, that is down to the rest of the team around him performing better this season than we did last year. But even like looking at the stats today, I think with everything Ndombele does, he does it well and does it right, and he does it in a kind of flary way. So it kind of overshadows the fact that he doesn't do it very often, if that makes sense. Like, he only had 37 touches today, which was the sixth least of any players on the pitch. And of those who were less than him were Lloris, the goalkeeper, Moura, Sissoko, and Vinicius, the four subs. So the only player on the pitch who actually was playing outfield for 90 minutes and had less touches was Harry Winks. And even then, you're looking at, he had one shot, it was off target. He only completed 16 passes throughout the entire game. And again, I know Tottenham, having not had much possession, those numbers are going to be a bit lower than you'd expect. But 16 is not very effective at all. But I just do feel that since it's almost, you can see him playing better in a more advanced position. Maybe it's a very basic way of me looking at it, but I do feel as though that's kind of the best indicators to where he's best playing. And on the Steven Bergwijn point as well, look, we know he got a bit of stick on social media again today for missing these couple of chances, and it's never warranted. A player should never be targeted like that in any way at all. But he does so much defensively, and as you were saying, it's not what you'd typically expect with a player of his position. But even looking back at that Liverpool game, which was potentially his worst game in a Spurs jersey in terms of the impact that his misses had. But as soon as he went off the pitch and Lucas Moura came on, Sergio Aurier was exploited so much because he didn't have the kind of safety net of Bergwijn being there with him. So it's kind of a weird thing that maybe Ndombele looks better than he actually is. Maybe Bergwijn doesn't look as good as he is. But I think that's kind
spot on.
Yeah, but it's a weird way, because we're in a style of football that we're not usually used to. Perhaps it's kind of harder for us to pick out these things that actually need to happen or don't need to happen. And it's a debate, I'm sure, that will rage on all throughout the Jose Mourinho era, because it's something we will have to get used to quite quickly. Mr. K is saying Ndombele has the same skill as Eriksen. He can pick a needle through an opponent's defensive stack. And David, that's the thing. He's so similar to Eriksen in his ability to pick out a pass and his ability to create. But he's also so similar to Moussa Dembele in the way he can glide past any man, and he can pick the ball up deep and he can run forward. Where do you see him as his best position in the Spurs team?
Personally, I probably think his position is just in behind Harry Kane, in my opinion, just in front of Harry Kane in a centre attacking midfield role. Like, look, he's like you said. Look, his passes, like, they're not as effective. But one thing he does do is he holds the ball up so well. He holds it up so well, and he can, like that. He gets a burst of energy. He can go from one end to the pitch with the other, and players are just bouncing off him. And for me, look, he does get a lot of criticism, but I think mainly that is because he's the same sort of body language as Berbatov. Remember Dimitar Berbatov? So good, so elegant on the ball, but looked lazy. And for me, Dembele looks like that. But like he's so effective. He's so effective. And for me, I actually think he like you go back and look at some of the games we've won, especially that game against City with that ball over the top of the sun. Like, the guy can just do one step over, take two players out of the game, and create something out of nothing. He has that something that rest of our players in the team doesn't have. And because he holds the ball up so well, and he does the right thing when he gets it, that's why Dele Alli's not in the team. That's why Dele Alli's not playing. That's why he's not playing in the centre attacking midfield, because Dele Alli's all about flicks and tricks. And like sometimes they work, but you seen against Stoke, it didn't work. He gave the ball away. They went straight up and scored. And with the players we have at the back, you just can't allow for that. You can't allow for it. And Dele Alli's being held accountable. And whether people like it or not, Mourinho has to do it. Mourinho has to do it. Like if you're not going to play Mourinho way, well then you have to. You're dropped. It's as simple as that. But back on Ndombele, what a signing this guy has been. Yeah, look, it took us probably about a year to get the best out of him. But for me, like he's starting to get there. And just on the fitness thing, like for me, like a lot of people are criticising Joseph for taking him off all the time. But look, you have to remember he has all these staff in the background. You know, all this thing with red zones and stuff like that. Like, you know, Mourinho's being told exactly how long he can last for. They have all the technology there. And I can guarantee you that's what Jose is basing it off.
Well,
Yeah.
there's not only that, but the fact that Lo Celso right now is not in the picture. There's not a true backup other than Dele who isn't going to come right in for him. And it's funny, I hear that comparison with Ndombele and Eriksen, and I don't really see Ndombele as an Eriksen type. I think Eriksen is your more quote unquote prototypical number 10.
Yeah.
And has a free kick in him and has a lot of other things that Ndombele doesn't. But Ndombele has a lot of things that Eriksen doesn't, and those are the skills on the ball. And both of them have the ability to pick a pass, but in very different ways. And Ndombele is a little more slippery. Eriksen's going to hit more of a longer, more looping pass. There's some similarities there, but Eriksen to me was the more prototypical number 10. Ndombele can play the 10, but I think he can play deeper and move the ball forward, like you guys said, like a Moussa Dembele. So that's what makes him such a unique part to that. And that's why I think we're able to have this debate. There's no real true position. With Eriksen, he's your central attacking mid. He's the guy you're sticking right in there. And with Dele, I think Dele is much different as well because he can play that role, but he also needs the freedom to be able to do those flicks and tricks. He would almost need to play a team like Leeds, which is going to leave a lot of space at the back because they're going forward so often. Today would have actually been, and it wouldn't have happened because Mourinho is obviously not going to do it, but today would have been a spot where Dele could have thrived because he has all that room to do his flicks and tricks. And if it ends up that Dele ends up in Paris in a league like that, he will have all the room he wants to do those types of things as well.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that because, like I say, it's almost the same position that they're playing with. There are so many different things that you can expect out of these two players, and again, it does come back to the style. Look, we were all surprised, I think, to see Dele Alli not in the starting 11 today after the report from the Guardian UK last night. Now, I don't know if that has something to do with Lamela pulling out of this game late. If he was initially in the plans, and maybe Ali being in there was to combo Lamela or something like that. It was weird to see that happen. But look, we were talking on the channel the last couple of days, David, especially on your channel with Gaffey, and he made the call for Harry Winks to start this game, and he was spot on with that. But Winks, there was a comment a while ago saying Click ran rings around Winks, and he was good in spells. Just looking at the stats here, he completed 14 passes in the 76 minutes he played. He competed in 8 duels and only won 3 of them. I think he's not made a very good name for himself in this performance today, especially Oscar against a Leeds midfield that I have definitely been very critical of recently. Just from a Leeds point of view, what did you make of the performance of certain individual players today?
I think it's a tough one. It's a tough one, really, because you think about the first half an hour. I think obviously Winks and Højbjerg were getting overrun really in the first half an hour, but then Højbjerg for the last hour of the game was, for me, I thought he was probably him and Son were the standouts for me today. I think Højbjerg was just everywhere. Every single pocket of space we were trying to feed the ball into, he was there in front of it. And it was it was almost like, it's just a really top performance from him, to be fair. He was just absolutely everywhere. And you almost think, when I'm watching Tottenham, I think Højbjerg is that good defensively in terms of awareness, positioning, and he's got that bustle to go in for absolutely everything. A proper leader as well. Type of player I really like to see. I personally think you could sacrifice a bit of defensive stability to put Ndombele in there and get a more of a goal scorer ahead of Ndombele. But I think obviously I agree with the comment before where it said Ndombele is the most creative midfielder that Tottenham have. I'd agree with that, but in a different kind of sense, in the sense that not just creating chances, but finding nice passes, dribbling with the ball, carrying the ball, and just really playing the game in a creative way. I don't think creativity just has to be on chances you get, assists, and et cetera, et cetera. I think it's something that's hard to kind of measure creativity for me in that sense. So, it was an interesting one there. And yeah, obviously Son was just out of this world in the game, both off the ball as well. Off the ball, his work rate was phenomenal. Kane, of course, was really, really good. In terms of bad performances, I think the Spurs right-hand side didn't look particularly good today. Doherty and Bergwijn didn't really cause us any trouble. I think Alioski, who of course conceded the penalty, probably had one of his more comfortable games at left back. He's not a natural left back. I'm not particularly convinced about him in the back four, but he looked comfortable today, which is good credit to him, but probably says a little bit about Spurs' right-hand side today in this game. And I think obviously you always feel like Eric Dyer's got a mistake in him. I think obviously he kept a clean sheet today, but I do always feel that Eric Dyer at times, when you put a long ball over the top, I feel like he is got that mistake in him. I think Alderweireld, though, has that true quality that it kind of almost masks kind of Eric Dyer's faults to an extent. But I think long term, maybe you look at Alderweireld obviously aging a little bit. You maybe need to look at something in those areas. Left back, I thought Ben Davies did well. And obviously, you said before the game you wanted to see Reguilon in there. I think Reguilon is still the far superior fullback. But Ben Davies did well, to be fair. Rafinha didn't really, in the second half, have a kick against Ben Davies. He actually even moved to the left-hand side just to have made a substitution. And yeah, I think, defensively, your team was superb today. There's no question about that. And Harry Winks, I think sometimes stats can be a little bit misleading in that sense. In terms of, I know he didn't have a lot of touches, but it didn't feel like that was his big role today. I didn't think his role was to necessarily get on the ball a lot. I think, in terms of just being in the right place at the right time. And he was, to be fair, on the Meslier mistake. I think he was in the right place at the right time. But obviously, going forward, when you have a lot more of the ball, you want to see a lot more from Harry Winks in possession. Yeah. I see him almost as it may sound like a funny comparison, this, but a Joe Allen type of player in terms of Joe Allen at Liverpool.
Yeah.
Not specifically.
What separates him and Joe Allen, though, is the physicality. Joe Allen's physical, Winks isn't. Them Joe's lost. Show why Winks is not in the team week in, week out.
Yeah, no.
Joe's lost is not good enough. Like, anytime this guy plays in midfield, we do get overrun an awful lot. Like, he got away with it today because of Leeds. But look, let's not get carried away on Harry.
I know.
Had to throw that in there, didn't he?
I see Harry Winks as more of an Everton or a Burnley type of player, though. That's what
I think that's the argument. I think that's the argument with Harry Winks right now, is that he would just be so good at an average Premier League side, like a mid-table side.
There's no question. And here's the weird thing, too, that we see in this kind of defensive midfield pairing. Before Højbjerg came in, it was the Winks-Sissoko pairing that everyone, granted, the pairing did start in a Champions League final, but we were able to improve it by bringing Højbjerg in. And in doing that, early in the season, even in the preseason, everyone thought, okay, Højbjerg is going to be paired with Harry Winks, and that'll allow Harry Winks to get a little more forward because Højbjerg is there to do the defensive duties. But in the preseason, what we saw was, and even in the first few games when Winks was playing a little more, we actually saw Winks sitting deeper and Højbjerg getting more forward. And that's actually what we saw today against Leeds. Højbjerg was able to get more forward, and Winks was the one stuck back. And then when Sissoko is playing, it's almost the opposite of that, where Højbjerg is kind of playing more of a sitter role, and Sissoko gets forward and then covers for Serge Aurier when Aurier is bombing up the right flank, and Sissoko kind of covers back there. So it's interesting that Winks plays the more defensive role even when he's paired with Højbjerg. I've always, we saw that back in the preseason, and then again saw it today. Højbjerg had a couple of offensive chances, which is something that I think we know is in his locker, but we don't get to see very often because he's not always paired with Harry Winks. And I'm not sitting here praising Harry Winks' defensive ability. I don't think that's what is unlocking that. It's just interesting to me that that's what we tend to see when these different pairs are thrown together. I think the moral of the story is we would like to see an improvement made in that second defensive midfield position next to Højbjerg. We don't want it to be Winks or Sissoko. We'd like to have one of those guys be an option off the bench rather than having to start one of them.
Yeah, to see a comment here from Paul Markey saying Leighton Orient is more the level for Winks. So I tell you, Joby McAnuff is doing a job in the middle of the park for Leighton Orient at the moment. I'm not sure Winks will get into that team. But Oscar, I just want to get your opinion as well on some of these the individual performances from Leeds. Just looking at SofaScore, as far as they're concerned, Calvin Phillips was far and away the best player in the pitch for you, and players who struggled include your fullbacks in Alioski and Stuart Dallas and Rodrigo in the middle of the park as well. Were there any Leeds players that you think let you down today?
I think Rodrigo's a fair shout. He didn't really, I think, compared to his performance against West Brom, it was chalk and cheese. But I did always have that worry about Rodrigo against Ndombele in terms of the pressing side of things. He really struggled to get really anywhere near Ndombele in that sense. It was very much Ndombele was Rodrigo's man, just drifted past him too easily at times. But yeah, going forwards on the ball, just didn't really influence things enough. But again, top player, so I'm not going to be too critical there. I felt Rafinha wasn't at his normal level, I'll be honest. I don't think he was at his normal level. But to be fair, the fullbacks, Stuart Dallas, Alioski, I thought did okay today. I think obviously in moments, they had bad moments in the game. But I think overall, over the full 90 minutes, I thought they did okay. I think obviously a big factor in that is Son scored. So you'd imagine that that's normally Dallas's man, but it's just superb movement from Son. You know, it's for that second goal, which was a really good goal, to be fair. You know, Son movement is fantastic. Dallas switches off, not even for a second, half a second switches off, and Son's just round on the near side. And there's nothing you could do about those kind of moments, really. So I can't really think of anyone. Obviously, Meslier is another one I look at and think, yeah, his performance was just not at the level required today. But again, he's done well all season for us. But I'm not sure I'd say Calvin Phillips was our best player by far. I think he did okay today, but I think obviously on the third goal, he's completely lost all the virals on the third goal. And at times in that second half, got really sloppy on the ball. So for me, our best player today, it's a tough one. But I'd probably say Luke Ayling, to be fair. And it seems crazy to say a centre-back was one of our best players, considering we lost 3-0. But 2 of the goals were set pieces, so I do feel that that's fair to say, to be fair.
Yeah, and look, there was a few players that did impress me today, and I would say Ayling is one of them. He's not a natural centre back when you're missing. Is it your first 4 centre backs? I think are out injured. I think he's stepped in really well this season, playing a lot alongside Liam Cooper a lot. He's a different centre back partner tonight. I think he did do well. Paul Markey here saying click in front of Ndombele and Højbjerg would be a class midfield. We'll see about that. Wait till Daniel Levy gets his check put out. Look, David, there was a disappointing bit of news for Spurs this morning when we heard early on this morning that Eric Lamela and Giovanni Lo Celso have tested positive for COVID-19 after a Christmas get-together, which did involve Sergio Reguilon and West Ham's Manuel Lanzini. It's a big blow personally from Mourinho after he bought a Spanish pig or something for Reguilon for his Christmas dinner alone, but of course that wasn't the case at all. What are your thoughts on Lamela, Lo Celso and Reguilon?
Yeah, on the whole coronavirus thing, whatever way you decide to fall politically, doesn't matter, because the players let everyone down today. Like, the players need to understand that there's nothing else going on at the minute. All people have is football. All they have is football, and with their actions, they can get football cancelled just like that with their actions. You know what I mean? And the thing is, it's not good enough. Like, they've let down. Not only did they let down Jose Mourinho, which we've talked about players letting down Jose Mourinho, they gave him a headache today. They've let down Tottenham, they've let down Levy, they've let down the fan base, they've let down everyone that's worked to keep them in this bubble, do everything they can for them. They've let everybody down, and it's not good enough. But one thing I will say, it was great to see Gio come out with his statement the way he did and say, look, I'll accept it, you know what I mean? It is my fault. I like to see that. He owned it. Same as Lamela. But look, we also do have to remember the human beings, and I know they got a hell of a lot of stick today. Rightly or wrongly, so I think wrongly. Look, they made a mistake. They did make a mistake, but there's no need to start abusing them. They're still Tottenham players at the end of the day. But like I said, like, whatever side of the political spectrum you fall on, it's affected everybody who loves football. Yeah,
definitely. And I feel like we're sitting here, we've criticised the Manchester City players for doing it, and it doesn't matter whose club it is. It doesn't matter what, as you say, what political side you fall on. It's putting yourself in danger. It's putting their family in danger, their teammates, everyone who's involved with the club. It is putting a lot of people in danger. And it was I think Lamela has actually as well come out with apology since. I'm yet to see anything from Sergio Reguilon, but I haven't checked in about an hour or so. But
just I feel like Lanzini got to play 90 minutes yesterday. Reguilon was on the bench today. What is going on here?
I feel as though that's just a Jose Mourinho thing. It's like, if he's cleared to be on the bench, he should be cleared to start the game. I think Jose just took a bit more of an exception to what happened rather than David Moyes. Or perhaps, I didn't see anything about this till this morning, so maybe Moyes didn't know about it. Look, it's not something we should.
My question is, why is he on the bench if he was potentially around folks who were exposed to the virus. Shouldn't he be in quarantine? That's what it seems like to me.
He must have been tested, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, I think because this was on Christmas Day, they all got tested yesterday, so I would assume that's why. But there's Manchester City players who were nearly at the game on Monday against Everton who then tested positive the next day. So I think perhaps more precautions should have been taken. The same at Manuel Lanzini. Oscar, from an unbiased point of view, what did you make of the whole situation?
I think now, with what's happened, obviously the Manchester City party as well, I think there needs to be a tougher stance on this now. I'm sure you guys would probably agree with that because, as David was saying, if they get football cancelled, if any other players do anything as daft as this and get football cancelled, this is people's livelihood at the moment. They can't go out, they can't do anything, they can't go. It is literally just TV and football at the moment. I don't think I've ever watched so many games in my life in the last couple of weeks, to be fair, because there is nothing else to do at this moment in time. So they've got to really take some responsibility now. I think there should now be. I'm not saying obviously Lo Celso, Lanzini. I think that has to just be. We have to just let that go now. But any other ones after this now, I think we've got to start with talking about bans. To be honest, I think it's all well and good talking about fines, etc., etc. It's the bans that cause players to really think twice. I think if you get a 3-match ban, 4-match ban, I'm not. Points deduction is a crazy idea, but
a mandatory 2-week quarantine where they miss at least 3 or 4 games. That should be enough of a kick in the arse for these guys.
That's the thing, because if say it hadn't been found out that Lanzini regularly gone through his party and then tested positive and then played, all of a sudden you're spreading it across 2 teams, the teams that play. It's just a chaotic, and you would like to see. I mean, what they've done at the moment is, look, it's a mistake. It's a mistake. They are human. But I think now the warning has to be there that if you do that again, it's almost like Bielsa in Spygate almost is the way I kind of see it, that if you do that again, we'll take a tougher stance on this. And that should be how it's done, to be fair. But look, I think it's a bit strange. Reguilon was on the bench. He didn't actually make that point to Joe on the live watch along, but I think it is probably just Mourinho taking the tougher stance. I mean, you're a brave man to do that around Jose Mourinho, especially when you've lost not won in 4 games as well. That takes a lot of bustle to do something like that to Jose Mourinho, because I can't imagine there was many pleasantries between the Mourinho and I think Matt Doherty's probably in the doghouse as well. It's not a good place to be when you're in Mourinho's doghouse, I can imagine, to be fair.
Well, and Oscar, that's a great point too, because we're talking about, and to the comment, these footballers are making a lot of money to play a game and to entertain all of us on, and we're having to watch it on television. Wednesday, when the Spurs match against Fulham was called off and postponed, I'm sitting here like, okay, what the heck am I supposed to do with the rest of my day? I'm over here in the States and I've got the rest of the day to now fill because I don't have a Spurs match to watch or to podcast about. But I think that to your point, if you go and piss off Jose Mourinho and interrupt your teammates, that's going to hit these guys harder than hitting them in the wallet with a fine of any kind. If you really interrupt the team structure and put them on the shelf for a few weeks, saying you have to quarantine now, you're gonna have to miss 3-4 games. That's where the thing really trickles down and really sends a message, because then you're letting your coach down, you're letting your teammates down, you're letting your entire organization down, rather than just hurting your wallet, which is already fully loaded as a footballer.
But not only that, but fans are pushing to get back into the stadium. They delayed the Carabao Cup final to try and allow fans back into the stadium. And by them going out doing this, it's just delaying it even longer. Do you know what I mean? It's mindless. Look, at the end of the day, look, it's Christmas. Let everybody have a good Christmas. But it's hard. It's a hard one. You know what I mean? Because you have to remember, a lot of their families are probably all stuck out in Argentina and stuff like that as well. Do you know what I mean? So, they probably didn't want to spend it alone, but, they're being paid enough money and there's enough responsibility on their shoulders to be able to act in the right way and behave in the right way.
Yep.
Yeah, and I feel like there's an element to it as well, as they're living everybody's dream by being the people who are out on that pitch every single week. It's tough to sit here and say, well, they have to do this. and they have to do that because at the end of the day they are humans, and I'm sure there's an accountant that lives down the road from me that did the same at Christmas, but no one cares because he doesn't have 100,000 followers on Instagram. And it's again to back to the thing that they are human, and there's a bit of a difference there. But as you were saying, football is all a lot of people have, and there is a risk of the season being cancelled again. And I said it a couple of weeks ago when the Villa Newcastle game was called off. I do think there will be some sort of a break in the season before the end of it. Like, for those who don't know, I work for Opta and coding these EFL games. And, in the last, I think over the Christmas period, there was 30 EFL games that were called off. And at times they're dropping like flies. I'll be getting emails every 2 minutes about games called off. There's 10 or 11 called off today, and there were 6 or 7 games in Scotland as well. And some of those were down to weather, but you can see how games in the kind of lesser leagues are starting to drop. And that's how it started the first time last year with the big gap we had in the season. It slowly started to creep up in the bigger leagues. And we are seeing that again with Fulham, their game on Wednesday called off. The game tomorrow was off. City against Everton, Villa against Newcastle. And unfortunately, I do feel as though it is only a matter of time before football is called off again. I think it'll be well into next season before we see fans back in grounds. I know the government have brought in tougher restrictions in England at the moment, but there's still some counties in tier 3 and tier 4. Like in Ireland here, me and David, we're in a full national lockdown again. And I feel as though maybe that's a step that needs to be taken in the UK, but you'll have to wait and see. Holly Agambar in the live stream say, hello all. Hey, look, it's an Andrew. Make sure to go over and check out Holly's channel if you haven't already. Some really good Tottenham content over there. Holly also says, unfortunately, they are in the public eye and will get criticised if they do something that's deemed wrong. That's just how it is. All have a responsibility. And look, that is the thing. Alaric's saying the same. They are role models. They should take the moment to think about what they're doing. And it is just an added responsibility on their shoulders that they didn't ask for. But unfortunately, it is something they do have to contend with.
That's it as well, though, Matty. Like the thing is, even with us, we put ourselves in the public eye. I expect to be criticised, but then I also have to think about my actions as well. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. And to your point, you say they didn't ask to be put in the public eye, but in a way they kind of did. I mean, they're representing not only themselves and their families, but they're representing a badge that they wear on their shirt, and frankly, representing us supporters who cheer them on. And if I can speak personally from my standpoint, if Lo Celso and Lamela and Reguilon happen to get a ban, I say they fully deserve it. I'm not, because it's kind of shameful that they're putting their team and their coach and everyone around them in this position. It's kind of shameful, and it hurts as a supporter of the club who invests my time, energy, emotional state and dollars into the club. Even from afar over here in the States, I mean, I support them in that way. And so if they're not representing the club in the way that is, proper, they deserve that criticism in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree. It's that unfortunate added responsibility that they, it's just something for them to deal with now. But I feel, the Premier League kind of set a precedent in, they've called off all these games, clubs aren't being punished. And I think it's almost too late to start banning players, but maybe that is something that should have been brought in from the start, because it just needs to happen. We need football, and these players are putting that in risk. I suppose, look, as we approach the 45-minute mark, I think we might leave it there. Look, we'll go around one by one again. Let us know where we can find you. We'll start with you, Andrew.
You can follow me at A Stedka. It's right there on the screen for you. Also follow Tottenham Pod at Tottenham Pod. We dropped another podcast today. Following this one, we'll have another one come Tuesday. We go after every match, recapping the match, talking all things Spurs. And speaking of Holly Agambar, she joined us for at least part of it today before her internet gave way. So you can go listen to her thoughts on that. And I was on there as well. And as Holly says, up the Podspur.
Yeah, absolutely excellent. And Podspur TV, definitely something I recommend you go check out. I'm working there a bit behind the scenes at the moment, helping them out, but 100% a podcast you should check out. Oscar, where can we find you?
You can find us on All Leeds TV. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, pretty much all the socials. And just basically pretty much daily content at the moment. Match reviews, match previews, opposition, match previews and reviews, which you'll be joining us on tomorrow, Matt. We'd also do a Before the Whistle Blows, which is basically a review of all the Premier League teams. So basically games coming up, etc., and everything really. And we've got a couple of really good interviews lined up, hopefully, with former Leeds players. We're hoping to get those sorted. Obviously, the latest COVID restrictions has made it a bit more difficult, but we're hoping to probably via this kind of setting, do a couple of things with former Leeds players, hopefully. But we will wait and see about that.
That'll be outstanding. I can't wait to watch that. And as Oscar said, I'll be on All Leeds TV tomorrow evening reviewing this game. And there's already a video up there from Wednesday with me and Elena from the Leeway TV having a fiery debate about Jose Mourinho and his approach to things at Tottenham. So I 100% recommend you go check that out. And David, where can we find you?
At the Irish Yid on YouTube or at the Irish Y on Twitter. I would just like to take this opportunity actually to say there was a fake account made about me today. I think it's gone, but if you do get anything, any emails or anything like that off it, just block it and report it. But yeah, you can find me at the Irish Yid. Basically, I just do match previews, match reviews, quizzes. I do a lot of debates on the likes of Harry Winks, Ben Davies, a lot of things really. I do it all. I'm your man. Hit me up at the Irish Yid.
Yeah, definitely. Again, another channel I highly recommend you go check out. You'll see my face popping up there every now and then. And as for my own channel, Tottenham Hotspur Transfer Talk, the Fan Voice podcast, these live streams, everything you want from a Spurs fan channel, including a huge exclusive interview next Tuesday, as Fabrizio Romano will be joining me on the channel to discuss all things Tottenham. We'll be getting his inside information on the likes of Marcel Sabitzer, Milan Skriniar, and of course his futures of Dele Alli and Davinson Sanchez as well. So make sure to go down and smash that subscribe button if you don't want to miss that one. And if you are interested in becoming a channel member, make sure to go down and hit that join button below. We have 13 channel members so far there. Saro Inul, Haytham Al-Batashi, James Watson, Paranormal Frank, Deck W, Ashley Chanel, Rob Hogan, Darrow Flanagan, The English Yid, Paul Markey, Arthur Everett, Jeremy Smith, and Ratty Star. And I know I'm doing well when I can't say all those names in one breath. So I do want to thank all the channel members for joining and any future members who may join the channel as well. We'll be back again probably on Tuesday with the Romano video and as well for a live watch along for the Cup game against Brentford. And I'm sure David Harris, the Irish Yid, will be joining me on that one. So we leave it there for now. And as always, to everyone who has joined us over the last 45 minutes, we'll see how many there were. Just over 2,100 of you, to every single one of you. Thank you so much for watching.